Hi guys, today we're gonna model a music box in Blender, and the final version can be rendered both in Eevee or in Cycles. I hope you'll find it funny. So, I press Shift A and I add a simple UV sphere. Okay. I'm gonna press Tab and Alt Z to go into X-ray view, and then I'm gonna delete all these vertices here because we don't need it. Because we just need the bottom part of the sphere. Okay. Now, first of all, as always, right click with the right mouse button and choose Shade Smooth. Okay, this is the bottom part of our music box. Here we'll have the dancer. And first of all, I'm gonna go again into edit mode, select this edge loop and press E and then S to scale. Okay, so E to extrude. Okay. Now I think I'm gonna press F to create a face. And now I'm gonna press I to insert. And I'm gonna move this new face here down. Okay, something like this is already enough. With Ctrl R, we can create a new edge loop here. And then I'm gonna add something like 2 edge loops here on the border and move them up to make it more rounded. Okay, we need something like a small shell. But of course we can leave it like that, so let's go on and insert multiple times. Okay, that's it. Let's add a subdivision surface modifier. And I think it looks pretty cool like this. So now we're gonna do the base. I'm gonna create with Shift A new plane and scale it. So first of all, we are gonna add a subdivision surface, but we are gonna choose simple because we just need more vertices. And I think we can choose 2 levels and apply. Let's see. No, we still have not enough vertices, so let's go back with Ctrl Z and I'm gonna choose 3 and apply. Okay, now we have enough vertices. So what we're gonna do is select all the 4 vertices here, and with the proportional editing enabled, okay, we're gonna move them down like this. It creates this weird effect. And now we select these vertices here, these 4 vertices here, and we move them up. Like this. Let's choose again Shades Mode. And now we can choose again Subdivision Surface. And this time we can leave this type. And that's it. But I'm also gonna add the thickness to it. So I'm gonna select here and choose another modifier, which is Solidify. And make it thicker, like this. Okay, we're gonna look at it from this direction. So the angle is right because I want it to look like this, but I'm gonna make it even more even smaller, and I'm gonna move Solidify modifier to first. Now I'm gonna shape this box and make it more interesting. I think I'm gonna select this edge loop here and scale it. Yes, because I don't want a real spherical shape, but something more like, you know, something a little more natural. Okay, I like this shape, like a sort of base. It looks really nice. And we can already add some details, like for example here, a quick trick is add an edge loop and select here and choose face, extrude face along normals. Okay, let's create the inside. So I'm gonna select here and choose a cylinder, scale it on the z-axis. Okay, in case you need it, you can scale the bottom part of the cylinder or even delete it if you want. Okay, now we can go on and create the lid of our music box. And surprise, it's gonna be another sphere. And yeah, I'm just gonna resize it like the box that we already created. I delete again these vertices because we don't need them. And this time I'm gonna scale it very much on the z-axis because I want it to be a little rounded, but not too much. I'm also gonna rotate it and place it here. Okay, so this is gonna be the lid of our music box. So inside of it I'm gonna put a mirror, and it's pretty simple to finish this part. I'm just gonna select this edge loop here, scale it a little like this, and then I'm gonna press F to close it to create a new face, and as always I to insert. Okay, now I again and E to extrude. Always remember to deselect proportional editing. And now I can move my extruded face toward the inside like this. Okay, so here we're gonna have our mirror. We can add the subdivision surface modifier even to this part here. And to remove this weird effect, we can just go on and insert again like this. It seems a bit small for me, so I'm gonna rotate it and see if it fits. So I position it here correctly, and then I'm gonna choose this vertex and press Shift S, cursor selected, and then I assign the origin to the 3D cursor, and now we can rotate it. And yes, it doesn't fit, so we can scale it until it does. Okay, now I'm gonna create something here to connect the lid with the box. Okay, now I'm gonna create some golden details to make it look more precious and cute. So I'm gonna press Shift A and I'm gonna add a circle here and scale it so that it matches my box like this. And I'm already gonna add a subdivision surface modifier and apply it so we can have more vertices. Okay, now I can select these vertices, skipping one in the middle, like this. Okay, and I move them up, creating this interesting ondulation. Now I can, I'm gonna reduce it a little, and now I can go into Object, Convert, and convert this mesh into a curve. Because like this, I can now go here in this menu, and since it's now a curve, I can add a depth and create this nice effect like this. We can also choose shade smooth as always, and we can also add a subdivision surface modifier. Another thing that I think I'm gonna do is select some edge loops here, like this one, and maybe even this one here. Let's select everything and then I'm gonna choose later. I select these edge loops here and I duplicate them with Shift D. Okay, now I duplicated these edge loops, but I need to separate them from the mesh because we are gonna convert these edge loops in curves too. So now I duplicate them and now I press P, separate selection. Okay, now we have here these edge loops, and as we did before, we can go here and convert them into a curve. And as always, increase the depth to create this effect here. The last detail I'm gonna add to my music box is a flower. Actually, many flowers here on the border of the box. How I'm gonna create it very quickly. In case you don't know it, if you go here into Edit and you choose Preferences, here in the Add-ons panel, you can choose Add Curve Extra Objects. If you don't have it already enabled, you can enable it, and you'll see that once you go into Shift A, you'll see many more curves here with interesting shapes. And I'm just gonna add in Curve Profiles flower. Okay, in case you don't see immediately this menu, you can just open it here. And it's important to choose 3D and not 2D because we need it empty like this. Now we can close the menu and we can just exit edit mode, pressing tab. And let's start by scaling this flower because we need it to be very, very small. And in this case, we don't need a curve, we actually need a real mesh. So we're gonna go to Object and Convert to Mesh. And we could have just modeled it very, very easily, but if you're lazy like me, you're gonna like this method. So I select all with A and I press F to create a new face between all these vertices. And I'm gonna connect all these vertices together in this random way. It doesn't matter. I just need a single vertex in the center. Okay, like this. Now we can select everything with A and press E to extrude and move the new vertices down. Last thing to do, Ctrl R, and we add a new edge loop here in the middle and scale it with S. Now we can select this vertex here that we created, and you'll find an identical one in the bottom here, and move them down like this. Now we can just add a subdivision surface modifier, and let's see how our flower looks like. Now we're gonna duplicate our flower all around the border, so we're gonna use an array modifier and the curve modifier. And to avoid any deformation that the array around the circle always create, at least for me, because it always happens, we're just gonna move our flower to the center of the origins. So let's press Shift S and choose cursor toward origin. Now we select our flower and we press Ctrl A and apply all transforms. We set the origin back to the geometry, and with Shift S we can finally choose to move our selection, so our flower, to the cursor, so to the center of the origins. Here we have our little flower. We're gonna leave it here for now, and we're gonna add a circle here. Blender already created in the center of the origins, so I can just scale it. Don't move it, just scale it. And now we just need to convert it into a curve. So I go here, and you already know how it works. Convert to curve. Okay, now I have all the elements. I'm just gonna select my flower, and I go here, array. Let's add a few flowers, and now let's choose curve. Now we can use this tool here to select our circle, and as you can see, without any deformation, we finally have our flowers following the curve. Now we can increase the count and also increase the X factor to have some space between them. Oops. Okay. Now you can move them and place them where you need it, but remember to move the flowers together with the circle, like this. Always together, because if you try to move the flowers, this happens, and if you try to move the curve, you see that you have problems in both ways. But if you move them together, you can also scale them like this. Okay guys, now it's time to create the dancer, and don't worry, because I'm gonna model something very stylized and super simple. Don't worry, even if you have never created something human before in Blender, don't worry. I just start by creating a cube, and of course I'm gonna scale it like this. This is gonna be our head. We go here and we choose a subdivision surface modifier, increase the level and apply. Now we have our head to start with. First of all, as always, right click and shade smooth, and now we can go into edit mode. Okay, so to recreate something that looks like a human face, I always select this bunch of vertices and move them down. I also remember to enable proportional editing. As I was saying, I select this bunch of vertices and move them down like this. and scale them on the x-axis in this way. Okay, I think we can already add a new subdivision surface. And now I'm just gonna select these two faces here and scale them even more. And that's it, we are not gonna add more details. We go back into edit mode. We're seeing the face from underneath. And I'm just gonna move with Shift V these vertices to create the base of the neck. So I need something circular. Don't worry if it's not symmetrical, because we are gonna make it symmetrical later with mirror modifier. But for now, this looks good enough. We select these four faces here and we insert them. So I press I and I insert. And now I press E to extrude. To flatten these faces, I press S, Z, 0. But before that, I disable this. Okay, now I can do it again. S, Z, 0. Perfect. We can go on. We can delete these faces here because we don't need them. And we can go on just selecting this loop of edges here. I scale it a little on the y-axis, and now I start extruding it again by pressing E and then S. Now we are creating the shoulders and the rest of the body. I'm just going forward just by pressing E and scaling with S. I'm gonna stop here because I'm not gonna model the legs attached to the body. We're gonna make them separately by using curves. So here I can already press F to close the mesh. And now here we have to extrude the arms. I'm going to use the knife tool to do it, so I press K and I cut some edges like this to create this shape. Here he didn't connect them, so I'm trying again. Okay. And now we shape it to look more circular before we extrude it. Okay, I think it's fine. But first of all, I'm gonna delete half of the model and mirror this part. What you need to do is just select all these vertices here and press delete vertices. Now we have to select these vertices here and be sure that they are all aligned. So since they aren't, I press S, X, 0. And they immediately become aligned to each other. Now I reset again the origin of the model here in the middle. And now I can choose the mirror modifier. And move it to first. And And now I've moved it first and we have a perfectly symmetric model. You don't have to use it in case you already have something that seems symmetrical, but it can be helpful sometimes. Now I select these 4 faces here and I'm gonna press E to extrude them, like this. And I'm gonna extrude again. Okay. This is the correct length, I think, for an arm. And I'm gonna extrude one last time to create the end. Now to make it more clear, I select these edges here and I scale them. And it's better to create another edge loop here and make it bigger, like this. And maybe 2 more edges here to make the elbow more evident. So I scale it here in the middle. And okay, I think I'm gonna apply the mirror modifier immediately because I want this arm to be actually pointing downwards. Now let's close the model down here. I select these edges and I press F. Insert just one time. The upper part of the body is completed. Now we only need to do the dress and the legs. Let's start with the legs. So, since this is very stylized and I just need to create two legs very quickly and move them very quickly if I want to change the position, I'm gonna use a curve. So I press curve and path, scale it a lot, and I start positioning it here. Like this. I assign a depth to it. And now I'm gonna scale proportionally the vertices. Remember that the correct shortcut is Alt S. I'm using Alt 1, but just because I changed my personal shortcuts. In the profile view, we can start moving the vertices so that the leg seems like it's bending like this. And we can also choose to add a new vertex by going here in segments and choose subdivide. Okay, now I can duplicate this leg here and starting to shape. I rotate it already, and then I'm gonna start shaping the left leg like it's bended and yeah, in a typical dancing position. As you can see, it's a very simple method. All you have to do is go on and continue to scale the vertices and add vertices and move them closer until they, they do this useful effect like real skin touching. So I'll move on and convert my legs. I select this one, and first of all I'm gonna reduce the resolution so that we don't have too much vertices. Here I'm gonna choose something like 6 and 2. Yeah, and let's do 6 and 2 here as well. And now we can convert them. I think I did a really good job. I like it. I like it really much. And now let's see how we do the foot. Well, I simply go here, select these faces and close them, for instance. I'm also gonna connect with the knife tool all these vertices like this. And move this new vertex down. We can now assign a subdivision surface modifier to the foot, to the leg. Okay. And that's it. Now I'm gonna create the shoes. So I simply select all these faces here, here and here, and of course here. So basically all of these. And as we did before, I duplicate them, so Shift D, I release and then I press P, separate selection. Now I select everything and I scale it to make it look bigger than the actual foot. And then I'm gonna delete these 4 faces here, like this. And now we can just move these vertices move them near the other ones. And closer to the leg. And I'm also gonna add a solidify modifier. Like this. And now I'm gonna do the same process for the other foot. Okay, the legs are done, and now I can model the upper part of the dress. And I think I'm gonna simply use the body. So I deselect subdivision surface for a second, and I select all these faces here. And I just duplicate them and separate them as always. Okay, now we can go back to subdivision. And to model it, I simply scale it here and here. You can give it the shape that you want, of course, make it more fancy, more detailed, but I'm just trying to do something very simple. If you drag these 2 down and these 2 ups, you should have some sort of heart shape. Okay, and I'm also gonna add a solidify modifier here too. You can use the sculpt tools to help you to adjust quickly the dress in case you need it. It's very helpful. And now it's time to do the hair. For the hair, I'm just gonna use a simple sphere. So I select a new sphere and I place it here. Okay, this is gonna be the base of our hair. Now we're gonna adjust it using all the sculpt tools. And it's better to activate the mirror. And now I think I'm gonna select these edges here in the middle and put them down and drag them down a little bit like this. And also we can add a subdivision surface modifier to the hairs too. Now here I create a new sphere which will gonna be the bun. Exactly like this. Like this. And the final touch is some strands here, some loose, hair that we are of course gonna create using a path. I scale it, I place it here when I want my hair to be, my lock. And first of all, I'm just gonna move the vertices until they follow the shape of my face. And we add a depth to it. Now I'm gonna extrude this one here and make it goes inside the head and also scale it a little, but of course I'm gonna scale last one too. And you can add as many locks as you want. Some thinner, some bigger. You can create your own haircut. Okay, now I'm gonna create the skirt of our character, and it's a skirt created using cloth simulation. And I think it's really cute because once our dancer will be dancing around and rotating, our skirt will be moving with her. We create a new circle and we do the same thing that we did before, so we adapt it to the shape of the dancer. Like this. And we extrude and scale the vertices. You can decide the length of your skirt. I'm gonna do something that reaches here, the knees of the dancer. Okay, once you're satisfied, use Ctrl R to add many new edge loops on your skirt. Okay, how cloth simulation works. Basically, you have to select your skirt, and here you have to choose the cloth options and change a few parameters. But before we are doing that, the most important thing to remember is to add a collision to all the objects that the skirt will have to touch. A collision prevents the skirt from passing through our character. So when the skirt will be moving, she will hit, for example, the legs of our character, but she won't go through them. Okay? She'll just be bouncing around them. So, first of all, I'm gonna select the dress here and I'm gonna choose collision. Change the damping to 1. And you're gonna add the same parameters to everything else here. So the body, the legs, okay, for now we can skip the hair because I don't think it will eat the skirt. So let's go on and select our skirt here. And we choose here, remember, in the physics properties, we choose cloth. For the quality steps, I'm gonna select 12. You can even use a lower number in case it becomes too heavy for your computer, but I think it's fine like this. Then here, we're gonna select a pin group. What is a pin group? So basically, if you just start the simulation right now, the skirt will be just falling down uncontrollably. Okay, so we're just gonna say to Blender that we want some vertices of this skirt to not be affected by the gravity, so they'll just stay where they are, and all the other vertices will hang here. So I select this loop of vertices here, and I go here in Object Data Properties and I add a new vertex loop. I can call it pin and assign it. And now we can go here into cloth, and if we go down to the shape, we can select our pin. Okay, now the last thing to do is set the collisions. I'm gonna choose a quality of 10, I think. And very important, also enable self collisions. And here we're gonna change just a few parameters. Okay, that's it. We are ready. And we can press play and see if our simulation works. It works perfectly, but I think we need to add a subdivision surface modifier here to see if it really works fine. It works really good. Remember that if you use the subdivision surface modifier first, it's gonna do some very scary things like this. So remember to always put it under the cloth. Okay. Our simulation works, so we stop here at this frame, and since we don't want the simulation to restart from this point every single time, we want the skirt to already look like this at the starting of our animation. We go here and we apply our cloth. Okay, now we have applied it. And as you can see, nothing happens anymore. And we are just gonna reapply a new cloth simulation. So I choose cloth again, 12 quality steps. I choose my pin group. I enable self-collision, distance, and impulse clamping. And now I run the simulation again. As you can see, it works again, and it's gonna move together with our dancer now. Okay, now we are ready to position our dancer here in the middle of the music box, but first I'm gonna select all the parts of the dancer and I'm gonna press Shift and click on the body and press Ctrl P to parent all the parts to the body. So I choose Object, Keep Transfer. This is very important. And now, since our dancer will be moving and rotating around this point here, I'm gonna set the origin of the body here. Okay, now we are ready. Be careful with the cloth simulation. Remember that in any moment you can bake them. It's better to set all the scene at frame 1. It gives less problems to Blender when you're arranging your dancer. It's better to be at frame 1 at the starting of the simulation. Anyway, I'm gonna make it smaller and move them here. The point is that she has to fit in the music box even if she is completely down like this. Okay. This is me every Monday. Okay, we can... Oh my god. No. We can rotate it back. And this will be the position of our dancer. Okay guys, this is the final look of my music box, and I added lighting and materials and I think it looks really nice. I love this material for the dress. Now I'm gonna let you see very quickly all the shaders that I used. They are really super basic and simple, and lightning, and then we are just gonna fix something and see the music box animated. We're gonna see how to animate it very quickly. Okay, so quick review of my lights. We have an area light here with this light tonality of pink, another area light very big here, this time with a cold color, a sun to illuminate the whole scene, and that's it. Then I used a plan as a background with a very simple shader. And now let's go and see the materials I used for the real music box. Okay, I wanted the dancer to look like if she was made of porcelain or some materials like that. So basically everything is just a principal BSDF, in this case with a brown color, and I just removed completely the roughness and leave the specularity to 0.5. It's the same for the skin too, but in this case I added a small subsurface with the pink color to give it this nice pink shade here. Then we have the dress, the only material for which I added more nodes, because I wanted these nice effects, so I mixed two principal BSDF, one with this color code and these values, and another one with this color code and the metallic to 1. Okay, and then I mixed them together with a mix shader. That's it. Then for everything gold, I used, of course, a gold material, so a random yellow color, metallic to 1, and I regulated the roughness until it looked like something not too glossy. And that's it. For the music box itself, I actually used a color ramp to make this nice gradient from pink to white, using a texture coordinate node, a mapping, and a color ramp from pink to total white. These are all the materials that I used for my music box. The only thing that I need to show you is actually the mirror material. I wanted the inside of the cup to be a mirror. So basically I went here and I changed it from principal BSDF to glossy BSDF. Okay, and then I reduced the roughness to 0. Now, it depends in which render engine you are rendering this scene, because if you are using cycles, there's no problem. Okay, it works immediately. We just have a small problem of deformation, which can be easily solved like this. I'm just gonna bring all these faces and I'm gonna flatten them so that we don't have any kind of deformation. So I press S, Y, 0, and now they are flattened on the y-axis. And if I go back into render viewport, now it looks perfect. Okay. In case you want to render it in Eevee, it gives you this weird and totally deformed mirror effect. But it's not a problem, you just have to go here and choose here in Add, Light Probe, Reflection Plane. Okay. Now all you need to do is rotate it until it matches your mirror surface, and as you can see, it works perfectly. Okay, now comes the funny part, because we are gonna animate everything and I hope it's gonna be really great. So first of all, let's make sure that this is parented. Okay, So this is the timeline, and here we're gonna see the keyframes that we're gonna create. You can create a keyframe either selecting an object and pressing I and choosing one of these options. I usually use local rotation, location, rotation, and scale. Or you can simply activate here the auto keying, and in this case, every single time that you touch something and do a transformation, he's gonna create automatically a keyframe. Okay, I'm gonna leave it activated for now because it's easier this way. So first of all, I'm gonna create some keyframes now. I select the cover and I press I and I insert a keyframe. Okay, here it is. I want the cover to be up like this at the middle of my animation, so I move forward my keyframe. And now I can rotate it and close the box like this. Okay. I'm gonna do the same for the dancer. Now I select the dancer and I press I. And then I go to the first frame and I rotate it. And also scale it just a little bit. Pressing S. And let's see how it looks like. Okay. Now we can animate the dancer rotating. So we move forward, like here, and I press R to rotate her. Okay. Don't worry if you see that the skirt is not following the movement, it's just because you have to restart the animation every single time. So let's see how it works. Okay, really good, but the rotation is too fast, so I'm gonna move this forward. Better, but I don't like that the skirt is not moving enough. I want it to be a little more floating while she rotates. So you can fix this by selecting the skirt and going here in the cloth properties, and in field weights we simply reduce the gravity. I think I'm gonna reduce the gravity even more, and let's see. Yes, now it does the perfect spin. Now I'm really satisfied and I'm gonna leave it like this. Let's see it rendered. Okay guys, this is it. This is our music box and I really love it. I think it looks great and I'd love to have it for real in real life. And if you had fun following this tutorial, please like it and subscribe because it really helps me going on with this project. And in case you recreate this music box, please tag me because I love to see what you do and to share it on my pages. And if you have any questions, please ask me in the comment section. And we're gonna see each other again in the next tutorial. Bye!